Secretary Ardoin, I'd like to start with you. One of the things that is a common challenge for elections officials around our country is the concept of emergency management and emergency preparedness. In your opening remarks, you made reference to something that in Louisiana you refer to as Operation Go Vote that is related to hurricane preparedness. Would you please share with us a little bit more about what that program is and how it works?
Absolutely, and I just want to say that we spell it G-E-A-U-X, like Go Tigers. And so we had a really good year this year in football. So I think that's what kept the Hurricanes away from us this round. But Chairwoman Lee, what we did was when we realized in 2020 we were going to have significant issues, I called upon our retired Adjutant General of the National Guard, who had just retired, and asked him if he would assist us in preparing for the election, for the presidential, knowing we couldn't move the presidential election. We can't move any federal election. And luckily, he had been through Katrina and other natural disasters. He immediately said yes. And what we did was, under his leadership, we set up a task force within our agency, agency-wide, both the elections division, the IT division, the procurement division, et cetera. And we had a weekly meeting, and we set goals and we set strategic operational needs, and then we worked on that, and we were able to also work with our state partners and our federal partners. Unfortunately, after Hurricane Ida, we weren't able to work with our state partners, and our federal partners didn't come to any aid for us. So we were on our own. But it was that strategic move and that stability of having already operated it. So I called upon my IT director, who had just finished serving in Guantanamo Bay. He's an active Coast Guard reservist, and they were called onto it. So I called him in, and we still utilize General Curtis as a consultant. But once we had the initial task force set up, we knew what to do internally. It took us a lot more work after Ida, but that is I think a best practice that other states might want to look at, because it was very strategic. We were able to get more resources, and the communication was the most important of what we needed, how we needed to get it, and all hands on deck.
Thank you. My next question, Supervisor Anderson. One thing that I know that was implemented in Florida was something called the Joint Elections Security Initiative, which was really the first of its kind partnership where state and local election officials worked together, not just by sharing information and best practices, but truly to integrate the cybersecurity risk assessments and review of our statewide infrastructure to strengthen the cybersecurity and physical posture of that infrastructure. Would you please share with us a little bit about how that program worked and your assessment of why it is significant?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. It was a great partnership between the Florida Department of State that was led by then Secretary Laurel Lee, Madam Chair. And it was unprecedented because now all 67 counties were working with the Department of State in strengthening their cybersecurity infrastructure. We had cyber navigators from the Department of State come and meet with our IT professionals. They scanned our networks. They gave us best practices. And I'm very happy to report that in Seminole County, we passed with flying colors. And now we also established the cyber navigators they had an area of assignment. So now you had someone that had an expertise in cybersecurity that you could reach out to within your area. This was especially important for those smaller counties in the state of Florida, those more rural counties, because as they will tell you, they have more livestock than they do people. And their budgets are smaller, so they are constrained by what they can purchase and things they can do. So this was something that did not affect their budgets, but was greatly needed to strengthen the cybersecurity of our elections. And I was very proud to participate with the chair in Jesse, as it's called to, and it was unprecedented, and I'm very glad that we got a chance to do it.
And then Secretary Ardoin, back to you, and this is something that I know you and Secretary LaRose, I believe, both share, but I believe Louisiana's program was one of the first of its kind, related to an election integrity unit that was designed to actually identify where there did occur instances of fraud or potentially criminal conduct, a response unit. Would you please tell us about that and how that works in your state?
Yes, ma'am. So I've been in the Secretary of State's office since 2010, and that program is prior to my even becoming First Assistant or Secretary of State. We have what we call, 6 compliance officers. We have them stationed in different parts of the state, different regions, and they are called upon to investigate any allegations of election fraud. We also use them to enforce laws that are on the books, whether it's for access to the polls or preventing individuals who shouldn't be at the polls, for example, people who are campaigning for a candidate. They are very strategic. We don't interfere in the election. Our investigations are sealed until we make a report to the local district attorney, who is the enforcement officer in their districts for any election fraud issues. We investigate anything from a candidate or a group coercing voters to register in the wrong districts. We had a recent case of that where an individual pled out because he was moving people from outside of his district into his district simply by voter registrations. We also conduct investigations and cooperate with our federal partners, and the FBI just made arrests of 2 individuals, current office holder and former office holder, for vote buying. And so we will work with any law enforcement agency in order to make sure that our elections are fair and free of fraud.